Senator Santarsiero will second it. Senator Santarsiero, this is Kayden's Law, which you and I have co-sponsored together, but I'd like to offer the floor to you, given your work and your commitment to the family of Kayden, and I believe it's appropriate for you to speak on its behalf.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you for working with me on this legislation in this session. This is the so-called Kayden's Law bill that we passed unanimously out of committee last session. It is the result of a horrible tragedy that occurred in my district to a little girl named Kayden Mancuso back in August of 2018. Kayden was the subject of a custody dispute between her mom and her biological father. And despite the overwhelming evidence that Kayden's biological father was violent and abusive, including evidence of a prior protection from abuse order having been entered by the court, Kayden's biological father was granted unsupervised custody of the little girl. And in a horrible, horrible tragedy, he murdered Kayden over a weekend visit and then committed suicide. From that awful day, Kayden's mom, Kathy Sherlock, and her family have made it their life's mission to make sure that that never again happens to another child in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. They, in that time, have worked with me, my colleagues in the House, Representative Tina Davis and Representative Perry Warren, a number of advocates across the state, including Danielle Pollock, in crafting the bill that is in front of the committee now, and that I am, again, pleased to work with you on, Madam Chair. In its most basic sense, this bill takes the law and puts the emphasis on the safety of the child in any custody dispute. It makes it clear that when a court is considering a custody dispute, if there is evidence of abuse, if there is evidence of abusive, violent behavior, then there should never be a case where a child is put in the situation Kayden was in, that is, unsupervised custody. The bill lays out a number of factors that a court must consider, giving courts more direction, because they frankly don't have enough direction under the current statute in deciding these very difficult situations. Moreover, the bill would recommend that our court system, because we can't order it, but recommend that our court system implement a thorough training program for all court personnel who deal with child custody cases like the one that was the subject of Kayden Mancuso's custody dispute. This is legislation that, make no mistake, will save lives in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania and will save lives of the most vulnerable citizens of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, our children. And as I said before when we were considering Senate Bill 8, we can have no greater responsibility as members of this General Assembly than to do everything we can to safeguard our children. Kayden's Law would go a long way in doing exactly that. So I ask for its support. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Senator Santarsiero, and thank you for joining me in advancing this. Kayden's mother gave very powerful testimony to this committee last session, and nothing can bring her daughter back but the realization that the court system failed her and failed her daughter was a heartbreaking tragedy that she has taken and brought forward as a way to heal and to protect other children. So I'm pleased to work with you on the initiative. Senator Martin, I believe, has a comment on the bill. Senator Martin.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you and Senator Santarsiero. It's tough to say this is a very important piece of legislation that we're voting on today. And really things that occur in our courthouses across this Commonwealth in battles over custody of kids. A lot of people who have histories that aren't always known or seen that are arguing that they're the safe choice. We see items like parental alienation and other tactics and tools that are utilized and end up where children are put in very unsafe situations. I know in my 21 years with county government and seeing that process work, just know too many stories where the wrong decisions were made, where you wonder why warning signs weren't seen. So any ability that we can have to put into place more training for court personnel, for the judges who are making decisions, that recognize all the things that we've learned now about human behavior and interactions, and is critical moving forward. And I hope the final piece of legislation that we put forth out of the Senate will get through the House, get on the governor's desk, because this will truly save kids from bodily harm, will save their lives, and avoid tragedies like the one that was just revealed to us. So thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Senator Martin. Are there any additional questions or comments on Senate Bill 78? Seeing none. Oh, Senator Collette. Senator Collette.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. I just also wanted to offer comments in support of this legislation as well. Last fall, when this committee met to consider the previous version of this legislation, SB 868, we heard directly from Kayden's mother, Kathy Sherlock. And I will never forget, as you said, and I'm sure all of us who heard her will never forget, Kathy's moving and gut-wrenching testimony about her beloved daughter, Kayden, and the preventable tragedy that cut Kayden's life short. She spoke about the failures within our child custody law system and how that system failed her and her family in the worst possible way, resulting in Kayden's untimely passing. As a former Deputy Attorney General in New Jersey, I have personal experience working on child abuse and child custody cases. I wish I could tell you that such cases are rare, but sadly they are not. Anyone who's worked in the child welfare system has met families like Kayden's and has devoted themselves to protecting outcomes like Kayden's. Preventing outcomes like Kayden's, Tragedies like this don't just rip through families. They take on an immeasurable toll in the entire system. The people who work within this system come here to help children like Kayden, but they need the legal tools to do it. SB 78, through the leadership of Senator Santarsiero and Senator Baker, gives those working to help children like Kayden the tools they need and will indisputably save lives. Today, I am proud to cast a vote in support of SB 78 and help restore the central focus of our child custody system to the health, well-being, and safety of the children in its care. It's bittersweet that it has taken a mother's grief to get us here, but I hope Kathy and all of Kayden's loved ones can take some comfort that her legacy will be to prevent other children and families from suffering. I encourage not just the members of the committee, but the entire General Assembly to pass this bill and get it to the governor's desk so that not another day goes by where the failure of our child custody laws puts children's safety first and leaves more children at risk. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you so much, Senator Collette. Seeing no additional questions or comments on Senate Bill 78, are there any negative votes on the measure? Seeing none, hearing none, the bill will advance unanimously from the Senate Judiciary Committee. That concludes the business before the committee for today, and I'd like to thank you all for your participation. We will now recess to the call of the chair. Thank you very much.